Welcome to the Nightly Nuge.
Welcome to another edition of the Nightly Nuge. And of course, it's Friday. So this is our Friday free-for-all with none other than Ted Nugent. Welcome, Ted.
Well, finally, it's Friday. I'm out of my cage. 2 days of freedom. Good for a rage. I'm going to the concert and hit all the bars. On weekends, my wages go just so far. But the Nightly Nuge lasts forever. Good to see you, Keith.
Good to see you, Ted. You know, there's a lot of news, but I'm actually going to skip over all the news today because, you know, we're 1 year into the current administration, and I think it's only fair to the president and to we the people that they get to hear Uncle Ted Nugent's scorecard for the 1 year anniversary of President Biden and his administration. So I've got just a few categories I'd like you to grade him. Give me a short take on COVID. When Biden ran for president, he said, I have the solution. Trump has failed miserably. I have an answer. We are going to crush COVID. True or false? And how's he done on the issue of COVID?
Well, obviously, it's false. The man is a walking lie, a walking contradiction. I give him credit for even walking. What a sad, sad character. And I would like to respect the office of the presidency, but that office has to earn that respect. So I would like to get a scale. Let's say Ronald Reagan had a lot of 10s, and Donald Trump had a lot of 10s. Bill Clinton had a whole bunch of 0.3s, but I'd have to hire a man with a backhoe to dig deep enough to find where Joe Biden qualifies on his scale as the president of the United States. The guy is an abject failure. He's the enemy of America.
So if I understood Uncle Ted's grade, if we're going to give him a school grade on COVID, is it an F?
I don't think there's a letter or a number low enough. So we'll give him an F because that's as bad as it gets.
Well, let's take the economy next, Ted. Say inflation and the impact that inflation has had on blue collar America, gas, food, really everything. The price is outrageous. The American dollar goes nowhere these days. He came into office saying he was going to protect the middle class. How do you score him when it comes to the economy, specifically inflation?
You know, I'm 73 years old, and I remember when I was growing up in Detroit, there were gas wars. You can get gas for 11 cents a gallon. And then as I graduated from high school, it was 29.9 cents a gallon, then 39.9. And by the time the Amboy Dukes were on the road, it was up to 49 and 59 cents a gallon, and we were really struggling to fill the tank of our van. My point is that I've seen it all. This president deserves the lowest possible grade because he's a liar. He's a scam artist. He intentionally eliminated our energy independence and now made us dependent on our enemies for our energy. This literally, Rod Serling wouldn't do the Twilight Zone episode like this because it's too stupid. The president has failed miserably on the economy.
Is that another F?
As F as you can get. In fact, it's a new ugliness for the F word.
Let's move on. The American work ethic. You talk about it all the time. When you and I are privately visiting, we talk about how proud we are of the American work ethic. We both come from blue collar families. Where do you score him on how he's facilitated or not so much the American work ethic?
Well, once again, every system and every recipe and every move this president has made has historically guaranteed an economic downfall. I mean, literally, I think his middle name is Mugabe, because when Mugabe became president through force and intimidation and genocide in Zimbabwe, it was the breadbasket of Africa. After about a year under Mugabe, it cost you about 16 million rand for a loaf of bread because they burnt down all the orchards and all the citrus groves, and they burnt down all the equipment and the fencing for the cattle. The point is that this president, once again, is a liar. He's not for the middle class. He is destroying the middle class. This man is an evil force that we have to fix as soon as possible, and I hope in the midterm elections we send a message that constitutionality and fiscal accountability still means everything to we the people in America.
It doesn't sound like you even gave him a D- on that either. F?
No, F. He's got a solid F.
I'm going to tie the last two together. I was going to ask about immigration, but because President Biden has put Vice President Harris involved in immigration, let's just lump that all in together. We're going to grade the Biden administration on immigration. At the same time, why don't you go ahead and grade our kind of disappeared Vice President Kamala Harris?
Well, the entire administration deserves an F on every count, and certainly immigration. I spent my time at the border, and there's heartbreak and there's angry by the Border Patrol heroes and the people living along the border because they're victims of an orchestrated invasion by the president and the vice president of the United States of America.
Well,
F, 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 F.
well,
F-bombs, nothing but F-bombs.
Well, now I'm up to speed of how Uncle Ted grades the current administration. If you come back this weekend, we're going to have a weekend edition of the Nightly Nuge. Hope you're having a great Friday, Ted, and happy weekend to you coming up.
Yep, God bless America. See you all again soon.